Okay, I think we're live. Hello, world. It's Mr. Flickster, and I'm here with very special guest, Chris from Movies and Munchies. Say hello, Chris.
Hey, how are you?
How are you today? I'm
I'm
pretty good, thank
well,
you.
thank you.
That's
Good.
awesome. In case you guys didn't know, today's all about our top five favorite Johnny Depp films, because I figured with everything going on with Johnny Depp right now, it's a pretty good time to talk about his films, because I really hope it makes a comeback because of everything with I don't even want to say her name, but yeah, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so did you want to start things off?
Sure, sure. Let's see. So my number five. I'm gonna go. Bottom to top. That's what. Yeah, that sound
Yeah,
good.
yeah, great.
Perfect. Okay. So number five is Black Mass, where he is. Is based on a true story. Whitey Bulger, and gosh, I don't know. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed his performance. I think maybe more than the movie overall, but I think it's been a couple of years since I revisited the movie, and it definitely is a time for a rewatch. But I remember leaving that just being in awe by Johnny Depp again, of just how he gets enveloped in his characters, how he creates this persona, and I didn't know anything about the real case. And it was funny, even gosh, what a couple of years ago or something, Whitey Bulger, the name, made a resurgence in the news or something. I'm like, why do I know that? And that was, Johnny Depp was the first one that came up. As I'm like, that's why I remember this. So yeah, I think it's definitely a good movie to check out. I mean, if you're into gangster movies, something like that, I mean, it's not going to top your Goodfellas or your Casino or some of these, but just from another true story aspect, and getting an insight in that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ray Liotta. No, Ray Liotta is not in that one. He's in another one of mine that that's on my list. But yeah. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pick. I think that's probably one of his scariest roles, if not the scariest, because he goes really dark in that one, like
Yeah.
way darker than because usually his characters aren't meant to be taken that seriously. You know what I mean? So that's a really good choice for number five. Yeah, for me, my number five is his original role, A Nightmare on Elm Street. He played Glenn.
Oh
He
yes.
played Nancy's boyfriend. And that one's pretty iconic because he's got probably one of the most iconic death scenes in like the entire franchise because he gets eaten by the bed and then just spurts out everywhere, like it just explodes all over his room, right? And it's actually interesting story. If you guys didn't know, they actually built the set upside down, and what they did is they poured buckets of fake blood into it, so that way it looked like it was shooting up. It's actually everything was just coming down, so gravity took over. You know what I mean? So I learned that from the Blu-rays, the special features. I got it right here.
Oh, nice. That's
Love it.
really cool. I didn't know about that. That's outstanding.
It's insane. That's the part of the movie magic, right? Because nowadays everything's CGI.
Yeah,
I miss the times where you watch movies and it makes you wonder, how did they do that?
absolutely. When movies can employ practical effects, that's so awesome. I mean, I love that, and you appreciate it more. I mean, because it's so hard to pull off, especially convincingly. And so when the creativity really kicks in at that point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And talk about like one hell of a starting role. Like you're in Wes Craven's slasher movie, and then it turns out to be one of the biggest like franchises of all time. Like it's almost like Kevin Bacon when he started off in Friday the 13th. Like no one really imagined like they would get where they are now based on like where they started from. So, and he started off as a musician too. Like he had to make a choice whether he wanted to pursue music or to do movies, and
Mm,
obviously he chose the latter. But yeah, so that's my number five. It's definitely Nightmare on Elm Street.
right on. Sweet. All right, my number four is another true story ish, at least based on a true person. It's Blow, where Johnny Depp stars with oh gosh, what's her name? Penelope Cruz.
Yes,
Penelope Cruz. That's
yes.
it. Yeah, this is the one that Ray Liotta's in, and he plays not Ray Liotta, but Johnny Depp plays George Jung, and a real life uh, drug smuggler, really, who worked with. I mean, he ended up working with Escobar, and one of the ones I think credited with bringing in, or at least large chunks of cocaine into the United States, smuggling that in, and again, just Johnny Depp just playing I don't know, he disappears into his roles, and I love it because, like, I was rewatching a couple of clips this week, and I had forgotten how many people were in this movie too. There's like I was watching this one scene, and you've got Bobcat Goldthwait, and you've got Paul Rubens. They're sitting around talking together, and just it's quiet and it's patient, and yet the energy that comes from them, I just really enjoyed. And so this is a movie that I own, and I revisit every couple of years because it's just I think I forget at how much I enjoy Johnny Depp in this, and then I rewatch it. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is why I own it, and so
I think that's a good choice because it really shows his versatility. Like he can go very serious, he can be very deadpan, and he's still believable. Like it's cool. I like how you put that. He really gets lost in his characters because no matter which role it is, he's believable in almost everything that he's in. Some of those roles are kind of questionable. Like Willy Wonka, I didn't really like that one. That's not on my list. But then there's other roles where you're like that, and you're like, wow, like this is why he's an actor. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
he's like an actor's actor, in my opinion. Like that's one of the reasons why he's my favorite. Well, has been my favorite for a while.
nice.
Real quick, we got someone in the chat here. Popping on Popcorn says, "Hi, friends. I actually have a show with her tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys
Nice.
check that out." It was kind of funny because she had scheduled something with me before during the week, but she had to reschedule it because she had I think she had to work or something like that. And like she got put into a later shift or something like that. So I figured, okay, if I have one in the morning, I can probably do one at night too. Like it's not that big a deal. So, and I was looking forward to doing this one with you. So I didn't want to reschedule this one. So
Cool. Well, you're a machine for doing a couple of them, a couple of
thank you.
live broadcasts in one day.
Well, that's the beauty of the live streams. It's kind of easier. Like it's just one take
Sure.
and then you just put it on YouTube. Like
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no redos in this one, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, not like before. But it's kind of exciting because I've been waiting to do this for a while and I finally have enough subs for it. So yay.
That's awesome.
So for my number 4, I have Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Nice.
This came out in 1998. He played Raul Duke. And this is based on a book. It's all about drugs, hallucinations, and there's all kinds of like crime drama going on in Sin City. And it's just one of those like movies you have to see to believe. Because even if you described it to someone, some of the scenes would be like, what do you mean like a room full of lizard people or like bats flying through the desert? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just so like random and so like, and even the effects, like there's a mix of practical effects. There's a little bit of CGI too, but even for like the 90s, it still kind of holds up today, I think. And this is another one of those characters where he just goes like off the rails in a good way. It just, I can't really imagine anyone else playing this kind of role. So that's probably why that's my number 4. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Nice. Rock on. Okay, so my number 3 is this one used to be like very rewatchable for me. And then I rewatched it about, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm getting older. I don't know if my tastes have changed. I just don't know how often I can rewatch this movie now. And it has nothing to do with the movie, well, it has to do with the movie, but like the performances I love. And it's Sweeney Todd. And I remember seeing this as at a movie screening. And I took my wife and a buddy of ours came. And I mean, we walked out of this thing just like, what the crap did I just see? I'd never seen the music. Nice. There you go. Yeah. And people poop on Johnny Depp singing in this sometimes, which I liked it. I liked the realism of that he's not this polished singer that, at least in the movie. I mean, I know that he has a band and he plays around, and so I don't know if he sings or not within that band, but within the movie, I mean, he can carry his own, but it is such a haunting movie. I mean, it's the ultimate revenge story, really, and the brutality, I think, in a lot of this too, because when I'm watching this and when I think about this movie, like a lot of the times, spoilers if you've never seen this, I guess. I mean, it's the demon, yeah, the demon barber of what's the last part? What street?
Fleet Street.
Fleet Street. And so when he goes to slice people's throats, because he's got this straight razor that's absolutely, I mean,
Got
the
6 straight
camera
razors.
doesn't pull away. I mean, the camera just sits there on the gore, and I'm like, whoa, that's really just crazy. That whoa, you know what I mean? It's shocking. And you have what, Sacha Baron Cohen as his nemesis type of thing. You've got Helena Bonham Carter, Alan Rickman. Oh gosh, so good. And I own the soundtrack, and so I listen to the soundtrack more than I'll rewatch the movie. But Johnny Depp in this, just as this, I'm not sure I want to call him unhinged because he has a purpose.
He's
You
very
know,
calculated. Yes.
yeah, he is very, and there even gets to that point where he like kind of enough, and yet the things around him and the pieces in motion are not enough now. You know, they're going, and some of the sounds. I mean, gosh, as the bodies fall through the floor, just and the you know, and the songs of oh gosh, I mean, it makes my stomach turn to actually really think about this, but. Yeah, no, that's good. Oh, thanks, popping the popcorn. Right on. Very cool.
Yes, Big Chris, that's up to you. I thought you'd appreciate that. But
Thanks.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I have that a little higher on my list. I don't want to give any spoilers for my list,
Sure.
but I'll put a pin in that one for now. But
Okay.
I absolutely love this movie, and I'm so glad you brought it up. I remember seeing it in theaters because I had seen the stage show before at like a local theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard that the movie coming out with Johnny Depp, I'm like, and Tim Burton's directing, like, oh my God, like this is going to be amazing. And it did not disappoint. But that's all I'm going to say for now, because I have a lot to say about Sweetie Todd.
Nice, nice.
My number 3 is probably more of an unpopular opinion, because it's probably one of his most well-known roles, so people are kind of sick of it by now. But my number 3 is Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, Captain Jack Sparrow. Like I couldn't make a list and not include that character because it's so like iconic, and it's again one of those roles I can't imagine anybody else playing. And I love how this movie is the antithesis of like the typical pirate story. It's not a treasure hunt. They have to return the treasure in order to break the curse. Again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen a movie from like 20 years ago. But yeah, I thought that was a really clever idea. And just the way what he does with the character, like on paper, you think it wouldn't work. And I even heard on set from, well, on the first one at least, people kind of questioned like his performance. They're like, maybe that's a little too much. But then afterward, when it came out and it was so successful, they're like, okay, we're not going to doubt you again. So yeah, my number 3 is Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh. And that's one of the ones I keep going back to and keep revisiting. The sequels are okay, but nothing really stands up to the original. Like it kind of dwindles as it goes along. It's only like 5 now, I think. And I think they're making another one or something, right? Like, have you heard that?
I think so, because that was part of it, that Johnny Depp was he was either removed from consideration or just was ignored because of all the legal stuff that was coming out against him, and so I think he lost one of those roles. But either way, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. They in subsequent films they kind of fall off a little bit, even though I think there's good parts in a lot of those movies, but overall, yeah. And my Pirates is a little higher up on the list. So like you, I'm going to pin my comments for a moment.
Good. And the thing about his performances in those movies, like he's great in all of them. It's just the stories themselves, you know what I mean? They just kind of,
no,
it's
totally.
It's not him I'm knocking. That's not his fault.
Well, yeah, no. And it's, I don't know. I think as the movies go along, I mean, I think in some of it, they stretched out a little bit too much. Like they were capitalizing on something that was awesome and didn't necessarily have the breadth of the story that we really needed or wanted, even though maybe some of this is interesting. It just, I don't know. Yeah. So very cool. Okay. Yeah. So I'll revisit that in a little bit.
Awesome. Real quick in the chat, hold on. Kyle's wasting money. It says love, fear, and loathing in Las Vegas. Thank you for your comment. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, you're totally
trying to keep up as they come.
Absolutely, no, very important. Okay, so mine, and it's funny because you said you did not necessarily enjoy this movie, but my number 2 is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, I love Johnny Depp in this because it took me a really long time. Like I saw the original Gene Wilder film as a kid, and it terrified me. I mean, just
it's
traumatizing. Scary. Oh, it is. It's good Lord. That tunnel scene alone is nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Just and then when you think about really the whole movie, I mean, that's dark and messed up. But Um, Johnny Depp plays Willy Wonka as more of a wounded child. Like he's, you can see the damage that his father's lack of approval for his lifestyle choice. He's like constantly seeking approval. He's trying to be bigger and better and create just this wonderful world so that people appreciate him or could appreciate him. And so he's always chasing that. And I mean, again, the songs, like, they get stuck in my head. Some of his little quips and his just the things that he does and the way that he delivers his lines is perfect. He's got that weird thing that he's doing with his voice. He's got the that haircut. I mean, the giant glasses. When I see people with those, I mean, that's what I call them, Willy Wonka glasses, because that's what they are. I mean, he's just huge. And I know a lot of people, feel kind of like you. That I'm not really a fan of this movie. And for me, though, it's funny. It's a movie that I quote with our kids, that we, go back and forth sometimes. Little girl, don't touch that squirrel's nuts, because in the movie, it's kind of funny. Out of the movie and out of context, it's even better, especially when it's something inappropriate or something, or you're making something that's totally benign. You're trying to go inappropriate by still being family friendly also. And just, I don't know, different things like that, or that is called cannibalism to your children and is frowned upon in most civilized societies. Just little bits here and there. And I don't know. This is one that I revisit probably once a year, because I enjoy the songs. Once I hear the songs, they're infectious and they get stuck in my head for a really long time. And I love and hate that all at the same time.
I will give you that. His line delivery for some of those lines are pretty good. They're very memorable. Cause Wasting Money says, regardless of legal BS, he's an amazing actor. And then he puts the quote, this is the one I was thinking of too, so it's funny you mentioned it. The way he says, you're really weird. Like, I can't really do it. But you know what I mean? Like, just his delivery sometimes, just, you can't help but try to mimic it, because it's just so, unique, and it's just so funny. And, the squirrel line's really good. There's a lot of good lines. Like the flossing line toward the end, you didn't floss at all. Not once. It's just like the way he says it, you know what I mean? So this is one that I revisit. I'm not completely, against it, but
sure,
it's just not my favorite. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If I was introducing someone to Johnny Depp, this wouldn't come to mind. It wouldn't be in my top 5. I put in my honorable mentions. I have those for later on, but it's not a bad film. I just prefer the original, and you can't really compare the two. It's like apples to oranges. Like Gene Wilder's performance and Johnny Depp's performance, they're totally different characters, totally different,
absolutely,
visions, versions, whatever you want to say. So yeah,
the whole movie is a total. I mean, it's different.
Totally
different interpretation. Different. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Not really as scary as the original, but it's got that dark tone still.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So my next one, hold on. My number 2 is Sleepy Hollow.
Ooh.
This is more of an underrated one. A lot of people forget that he's in this one, actually. And this is, of course, the story of Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman. But this is like a slasher twist to it, and it's Tim Burton's vision, and he put his gothic, romantic style on it. And it's got Christina Ricci in it too, and it's got a whole cast is amazing, actually. But just the way the set designs are and the way the story plays out. This was actually one of the first horror movies that I saw in theaters. Because based on the preview, you knew it was going to be kind of scary, but I didn't expect it to be as much of a slasher that it is. Because people get decapitated, people get gutted, people get impaled. This movie's really gory. And the part with the tree, remember that when he's cutting at it and it's bleeding on him and stuff like that. I couldn't believe how far Tim Burton actually went with this one. But I'm so glad that he didn't hold back. I was always waiting for, after seeing the Batman movies and stuff like that, growing up on those, I wondered, if he went really dark, how would he do a horror movie? And I've always wondered that. Because even Edward Scissorhands, that could have went a dark tone if he really wanted to, but he kept it light, he kept it sweet.
Yeah.
But this one, he goes for it, and he does not hold back. And I love the way he plays, Johnny Depp plays Ichabod Crane, because he's very, he's a man of science, you know what I mean? But he's very, very scared. He's very scared of everything. And I love the way the character arc is. He faces his fears. And it's really science versus magic. And if you think about it, because it's based off the American folktale. Mm-hmm. And it really does a good job of taking that little Disney story, the Disney cartoon, and then saying, what if this was more grounded, not really grounded, but what if this was more like adult? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what if this went
Mm-hmm.
really, really dark? And I love this movie. This is one of my annual Halloween watches because every year I have
Oh,
like
yeah.
a stack of DVDs that I watch every year, and oh yeah, that's definitely one of them. So are the other ones, by the way. But yeah, yeah, that's my number two.
Nice.
Please,
Nice. Right on. Yeah, it's in my stack to watch every year. I don't always get to it
yeah.
every year around Halloween, but yeah, it's such a good one. My kids love this one also, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah. Um, okay, before I number one, I have two honorable mentions. There's actually a lot more I think that I could put in there,
Yeah.
but I narrowed it down. And one of them, okay, so the first one is it's been a really long time since I've reseen this, so that's why it couldn't even make the list because I would need to rewatch it. But I remember enjoying The Ninth Gate
Yeah.
and Johnny Depp within there. Um, Again, I wish I had seen it recently, so I had more to actually say about that. But I do remember, enjoying that, and then Finding Neverland as him as Barry.
Yeah.
Just it was a different take. I think I'm not sure that everybody enjoyed the movie, which is fine. I think they might have been expecting maybe more of a Peter Pan story, or I don't know exactly what it is, but I think about him sitting, on the bench, talking to the kids sometimes, and just these, and I don't know, it really works. I like him, and I like that it shows his range at this point too. That he's much more of just a soft character in this, as versus like some of the bigger personalities, like in Sweeney Todd or in Pirates or any of these. That he's more normal, if I could say, if you could say that. So, how about you? What about honorable mentions?
I was actually going to mention Finding Neverland because I remember seeing that in theaters when it came out the first time and being really surprised by how good that story was because I didn't realize, I thought it was going to be like a Peter Pan story too, but it's actually the story behind the story, like how he was
Mm-hmm.
inspired and stuff like that. And I like how you put that too. He's got a very reserved performance and it really does show his versatility because he doesn't always have to go big and out there and over the top. He can hold back and he can still carry the movie. Like, it says a lot. Like, not every actor can do that. Another one that I wanted to mention, of course, was Edward Scissorhands. That's just one of those like all-time favorites. I grew up with that one. I think that was my introduction to him actually, because I watched
Oh,
that
okay.
before I watched Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's just such a beautiful film, and the way he does the character, it's again very reserved, very quiet for the most part. Like I don't even think he raises his voice like at all. Like, he speaks in short sentences, and to be able to take that and to capture that and to translate it so people can actually feel like for Edward Scissorhands, like he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
Another one I would mention is the true crime story, Public Enemies, where he played John Dillinger. I
Oh my
love that
gosh.
movie,
Yeah.
The Bank Robber. Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
one's so good. That's another one. When I saw it in theaters, I think it also has Christian Bale in it too. He plays the cop chasing him. But anyways, yeah, I was really surprised by his performance because he does a good balance there. Some parts are way over the top when he's doing the action scenes and things like that. But then when he's just like having conversations, you get so enthralled, like just how he says things, not what he's saying exactly, but the way he delivers his lines. Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of his films, it's just very impressive because he's
Yeah.
so just captivating the way he says. He could read the dictionary and sit there like, uh huh, uh
Yes.
huh. And then one I
Absolutely.
want to mention too is Rango. He doesn't do very many voice acting
Oh,
roles.
yeah.
And I love this one because it really captures like how cartoonish he is in real life. His mannerisms translate really well. And voice acting, it's really underrated, I feel,
Yeah.
because it's not even like an Oscar category. And I really think it should be because you can't rely on your face or anything like that. Like it's all in your voice. And
Absolutely.
it's too bad he doesn't do more voice acting roles because he really like steals the show in this one. And even like when you hear it, you can just picture like him in the booth, like trying to act out like all these little scenes. So it's a lot of fun. That's one that I revisit a lot, Rango. And then sorry, oh yeah, were you gonna say
Oh,
something?
no, I
Oh
just it would be cool to see, and I don't know, maybe it's in special features or something, but to have the scene side by side of him in the booth while you're watching the movie, and him and getting to watch that, because you're right. I think that would be outstanding and very entertaining to watch.
even just watching like a table read, just doing the rehearsals and stuff like that. That'd be so entertaining to see him get into character. And then real quick, I wanted to mention Secret Window. That one is really
Yes.
underrated, and most people forget about that one. It came out in the early 2000s, and it's another one of those ones where he goes really creepy and dark. kind of against type almost, because he doesn't really play villains too often. I think he should play more villains. And I have one more villain role that I'm going to mention, but I have kind of a rant about that one. So, did you end up seeing Secret Window?
I did, but you know what? It's kind of like The Ninth Gate that I don't think I've seen it in more than 10 years. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. And then the last one I want to talk about is Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. I thought he was so good in this role, and I thought I was really surprised in the first one when that twist at the end. Again, spoiler alert, when you found out it was actually Johnny Depp's character Grindelwald pulling all the strings instead of I can't think of his name. Oh, what's his name? I can't think of it right now.
Yeah,
Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell.
Yes. Yeah. He was in the yes.
Oh, real quick in the chat, Cause Wasting Money says Donnie Brasco as well. Yeah, that's another really good one. When he plays the undercover mafia cop, that one's really good too. Yes. But as I was saying, Fantastic Beasts, I was really disappointed that he wasn't in the new one that just came out. I won't even watch it because I think he got screwed over. Like they fired him based off an allegation, and it wasn't even like the case hadn't even happened yet. And it wasn't even like a criminal case or anything like that. Like this is more of a civil matter, you know what I mean? So I don't understand. Like I just thought he got the raw deal there. So I don't support that film. I haven't even seen it. I won't watch it. But he was I just liked him in that role before. And I don't know. When you see actors and they're really doing their hardest to try and make it out there, like because acting's a tough job. Like a lot of people don't realize how tough it is. And to get those constant roles like that, like he's really lucky to be as big as he is now. And then even someone like at his caliber and like at his like status gets treated like this, it's really disheartening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's harder to watch too because he was removed from the role, just taken away from him before he can actually even really do it, and then with the same production company, the same movie studio, they now have properties with Amber Heard that they don't take her out of these, or you know what I mean, or rework them or anything else. And so it's I don't know. They're Warner's business choices, I think, are kind of confusing to me. Because you even think about the Flash, where, gosh, the guy, they just need some help. I think they need to get there's something that's inside that's maybe not clicking or whatever. Just that they need some attention, some professional attention to really work through whatever issues they're going through, and then hopefully be okay from there. But again, I don't understand. And going back to Johnny Depp, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the Fantastic Beasts series, but he was cool to see him in there, and just he brings a style to his character, which I appreciate.
Yeah, he really makes it his own in that one. And that was really cool. And I like how you said that too, because actors have done that before. Like look at Robert Downey Jr. He had all the problems with like alcohol and drugs, but he turned completely around. And then he got that role in the MCU, and now he's got like a second chance on life almost, if you think about it. So I'm really hoping Johnny Depp makes a comeback. Like I hope if there is another Pirates movie, I hope it does do well. Like at least his performance. Like who knows what the story is going to be, because they're really going like. They're really jumping the shark, no pun intended, for some of these stories.
Yes.
Which is that last one? Part 5 was just kind of weird. Like, I don't know. But I think that's it for my honorable mentions. Let me just pick my notes real quick.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it. I had 5 there. But yeah.
Right.
I just, it was hard to narrow it down and then to actually pick the top 5. And I was trying to think, which ones do I watch the most? Like, which ones do I revisit the most? And then, when you think of it like that, those are the ones that resonate with you more. So would you like to say your number 1?
Sure. My number 1 is Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. And like, it's the one that starts it. I think that's the best movie. And then they just, they progressively get a little less awesome. His performance though, the way that he just becomes somebody else. And I think that also could become a detriment to his other roles, because you start to be able to see a little bit of Jack Sparrow in some of his other things sometimes after Curse of the Black Pearl. And I don't know if that's because he created such a unique character with this, that he's bumbling and yet he's calculated. You know, it's that weird mix of being able to be like, that totally happened on accident and it's exactly what I planned on happening. You know, you get that sense every single time he's doing something. And I mean, it's, you know, a lot of it, I mean, well, first off, okay, so he reinvigorated, or he created this movie, really. I mean, you know, we had the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, which is one of my favorite rides there. And I remember when the movie came out, and I think it was then the second one came out, and I was in Disneyland at that point for a radio thing, and we got to go on the revamped. They had shut down Pirates for a few months. They had revamped it, and that's where they reintroduced, they reopened it up, and that's where Johnny Depp's character of Jack Sparrow. Now, it wasn't Johnny Depp there when we were doing this, but the character, the animatronics of him, and I mean, it just, the mannerisms that they were able to capture, and just some of the movements, and the, you know, just his whole body language, everything really works in this. And it takes, I mean, you take a, is there anything special about the story itself? You know, I mean, probably if you break it down, not too much, just on the surface level.
Right.
But it's with all of the performances, and he creates such an iconic character that's what then we're like, oh, we're so drawn to this weirdo. But you also have Orlando Bloom, you have Keira Knightley, just them working together, and then you get, you know, you get Jeffrey Rush in there, and some other ones that come along later in the series, and they build on it. But oh gosh, I don't know. Like, one of the things I think that endears me more to this movie is that outside of the movie, in just Johnny Depp's life, he travels with his Jack Sparrow costume, and he goes to children's hospitals, and gets up in full garb, and, you know, and hangs out with these kids as Jack Sparrow. I mean, that speaks, I think, also to the quality of the person, that just, you know what I mean, that he knows he's created this iconic person. He's this character. He has made it larger than life. And so he continues that and brings that joy outside of the movie, which then also just reinforces how cool the character is, you know? And so I think, I don't know. I mean, is this his strongest performance? I don't think it is, but it is one of the ones that is the absolute most, like, memorable that he's created. And, you know, I think it's one of the ones that pops into people's head first when they think Johnny Depp character. And yeah, so there you go.
Awesome. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's a really good point. That really does show like how iconic the character has become when people like, when you say the name and then that's the first thing that comes to your head, like that kind of, I see why you put that as your number one. And that's why I like doing these top 5 lists, because they're so different, because they're all subjective, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's not really based on quality. It's just based on what your preference is.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
But, yeah, that's awesome. So it's funny because the one that you mentioned, Sweeney Todd, was actually my number one, if you haven't figured it out by now. And the one that I mentioned, that was my number 3, was your number 1. So, but yeah,
rock on.
Yeah, I wish I could have been there for that animatronic for the Pirates of the Caribbean. I haven't seen it. Like, last time I was on Pirates of the Caribbean was like in the 90s, right? So like 20 years ago, like before the movie even came out.
Yeah.
So that would have been really cool to see the animatronic. I heard about that, and I remember watching that on the news. Like, that was a big thing. So I'm really glad that they try to include that with the Disney theme parks. Like, that again shows, like, that takes it to another level. Like what you were saying, like, yeah, that's definitely probably one of his most iconic characters. And you're right, you can see Jack Sparrow in other roles. Like, you kind of see it in Willy Wonka, you can kind of see it in some of his other things too. So good choice. For my number 1 is Sweeney Todd. This movie is just, it's probably one of my favorite musicals too. Like, not just Johnny Depp role, but I love like musicals in general. And this one is just one that I watch probably the most out of the Johnny Depp films. Nice. What can I say that you haven't said already? His performance has a really good arc, because he's one of those sympathetic characters. Like, he's obviously the villain of his own story. But when you hear his story, and it makes you go, huh, how would I handle that situation? Like, you're not really mad at what he does because you kind of feel for him. And you're like, I
Hmm.
probably would be in a murderous rage too if my life was stolen from me and my wife was taken and like my life is just completely torn from me. And then you come back and it's all because this corrupt judge and then he meets Mrs. Love and they got the whole thing with the meat pies. So that song is hilarious, by the way. And I like how you brought the soundtrack up because this is probably one of the best Stephen Sondheim musicals that there is, aside from like Into the Woods. That one's also
Hmm.
really good too. But oh yeah, he also has a cameo in that role. I mean, in that movie, he played the big bad wolf in that. I don't know if
Oh,
people
that's right.
remember.
Yeah.
It's a small role, but he was in that too. I actually forgot until I started talking about it. But yes, back to Sweetie Todd. I like the gore effects. I like how each song kind of plays out like a music video, like each musical number. And it's so cool to see Tim Burton do a musical for a change. Because I think this was because he didn't technically direct Nightmare Before Christmas. He was just a producer on that. And
Hmm.
Corpse Bride didn't come out until years and years later. Like I think it was 30 years later, like 15, no, 2010 or something like that. But anyways, I think this was Tim Burton's first musical too. So again, I love how Tim Burton goes in different creative directions and he tries to push himself creatively. And then he goes to his go-to guy, Johnny Depp, and then he's like, I need you to just bring this character to life, like make people feel for him, make people want to hate him, make people laugh with him, make people like just all these flow of emotions. And the way he just captures lightning in the bottle like that, especially the song Epiphany, that has to be like the best song in that whole
Hmm.
movie. When you can really see him going from that calculated serial killer to this unhinged maniac, and he's just slowly over time gets more and more because that was his downfall in the end. He really unhinged because he ends up spoiler alert, he ends up killing everybody. Basically, before he ends up being killed himself, and he just lets revenge get a hold of him, and it
Hmm.
consumes him. And that's the lesson for that story. Like it has a good moral lesson, and a lot of people they take different things away from it. But it's like you said, it's just so bizarre. You can't look away. It's almost like a car wreck. You don't really want to see what's going on, but when you drive by, you can't help but look. You know what I mean? Like, but not in a bad way. Like this movie's so good. It's just so rewatchable too. Like it's like a 2 hour movie, but just because it has the songs in it, it makes it go by a little bit quicker, I think.
Hmm.
And each song does a good job of taking the story and pushing it a little bit further and a little bit further. And I don't know if you've seen like the live show or anything like that, but a lot of songs were
Mm.
actually cut. Like there's a whole chorus
Oh,
section
really?
and they like introduce like little segments and they go through each one. But it's actually all
Oh,
that was
wow.
taken out. There's a few other songs that were taken out too, but it's kind of understandable because not a lot like the same things on stage don't really translate on screen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they stage things looks better than the way it would do in the movie. Like the way they do the gore on the stage, they have red ribbons and they just kind of throw it like for
Oh,
the audience and stuff like that. Like they don't
that's
actually
kind
use
of
fake
cool.
blood or anything. Yeah, yeah, because they can't have fake blood on the stage all the time, right? People are gonna be mopping it up. People are gonna be
Yeah.
slipping everywhere. So just that's what I mean. It's cool in the movie to actually see the gore and to see like how far they actually take it because it's kind of like Sleepy Hollow. He doesn't hold back, and I love when Tim Burton makes horror movies because he's one of those just creative directors. He's always pushing, always trying to do something different too. Like he's
Yes.
even his filmography. Like we should probably do a Tim Burton episode. I could do a whole episode on him too. But back to
Heck
Johnny
yeah.
Depp. There's just something about the way the look of the character. Like he looks like he was stranded on an island for like over a decade and stuff like that. And the way he delivers the lines too, it's kind of pitiful. Like you really do feel bad for him. Then you hear more of the
Hmm.
story. You're like, wait a minute, I don't really agree with everything he's saying as the movie goes along. And then with the Sacha Baron Cohen scene, especially, like that's one of the first like turning points where you can see he's starting to lose it a little bit. He's got this plan and he wants everything set in motion, but then all of a sudden this monkey wrench gets thrown in, and then that's when you see his true colors. You know what I mean? So it's just such a good film, and the payoff at the end when you see if he finally does get his revenge is so rewarding for his character
Hmm.
because you really want the judge to go down after a while because you see how despicable this guy is over time. And Alan Rickman does do a good job. And it's funny if you think about it. There's a lot of people in Harry Potter, in Sweeney Todd. It's got Alan Rickman. It's got Helena Bonham Carter. It's got Sacha Baron Cohen. I think he was in one of the Harry Potters. It's got the kid that played Anthony when he played Grindelwald as a kid, like when he was a little bit younger.
Oh, wow. Oh, right
So yeah,
on.
and then what's the guy? The guy that was the rat. He was also in the Sweeney Todd films too.
Oh, yeah,
The judge's right hand
Spall,
man. Yeah,
Timothy Spall. Yeah.
him as well. Yeah, thank you. I can never remember his name, but yeah, that's what I mean. There's like 5, 6 actors. They're also in Harry Potter. They're all in this movie too. So it makes me wonder too, what would a Harry Potter movie look like if Tim Burton directed it?
Oh, good Lord. That would be, yeah, I'm, eh, well, it would not be the Harry Potter we know and love. I tell you that. It would definitely different.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
totally.
man.
Real quick in the chat,
Oh,
Jonathan Hartman says it does have an amazing soundtrack.
yeah, it
It's going to be
does.
talking about Sweeney Todd. Yeah, that's one of those ones that I revisit too. It's on YouTube Music, so on that, when you have the subscription, you can download the soundtracks. So yeah, that's one
Mm,
I go to a lot. Like a lot of times, I get bored at work, and like say if like my headphones died, I can just kind of sing the songs. I don't really need the music to go along with it.
yeah, they definitely get stuck in your head. I mean, yeah, it's a real. When I think too, if you've seen the movie or probably even seen the stage show, when you're listening to the soundtrack, it conjures back up the movie. At least it does in my head. So
Yeah, yeah,
I don't necessarily need to be watching the movie. I can listen to the soundtrack and be watching the movie.
yeah.
And
I can just see it in the back of my
yeah,
mind. Totally. Oh,
hmm,
totally. Yeah, for sure.
nice, right on. That is a great choice. Yeah, I may have to. It's been a few years since I've watched this, so I may have to put this on. Yeah, seriously, the last time I watched it, it grossed me out, which is weird because I don't get grossed out, and I think maybe it was just the mindset that I was in or something, but it was the fact where you just are watching the camera not cut away, and I was like, oh gosh, did I forget about this? No, I didn't forget about this. I don't know. But yeah, such a good, powerful movie, powerful performance. Loved it.
That says a lot about the practical effects too. When it actually makes you squeamish, it gives you that visceral reaction. I
Yeah.
love that. That's really cool. Real quick in the chat, Jonathan Hartman says, I would totally watch a Tim Burton Harry Potter series. Somebody start kickstarting that campaign.
It's been a handful of years since Harry Potter ended, so yeah, we could do that. That would be, oh my gosh, what?
She could do Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, the I think just from the magic aspect, I mean, it would be just wacky and weird, and I bet he could take it even more dark than it goes. As the movie starts to go darker and darker, I mean, I bet he would just, oh gosh, that'd be cool to see.
Yeah, you put that gothic flair that he likes to put on his films on for sure. Like on
Mhm.
Beetlejuice, and especially like Edward Scissorhands, that kind of gothic feel. Oh yeah, that'd be so awesome. Um, and I'm surprised that that movie actually had that kind of effect on you, because last time we did our list, we did our top 5 worst of the year,
Yeah,
and you were talking about Texas Chainsaw and how much you like that bus scene, and like
yeah, the
how
gore scene, right?
like
Yeah,
the risk on the in the ambulance, like in the beginning, like I thought that was really gory too. So,
yeah, it
but,
was.
but a lot of times too, like you think about the movie as a whole, and really those are the only scenes that really stand out when you think back on it. Like that movie's not as memorable, but the fact that there's so much gore in Sweeney Todd and it's so memorable, and even when you think about it, it kind of makes you cringe a little bit, because you're right, nothing cut away, and it makes you wonder how they did that. It goes back to that movie magic thing. You can tell it's not CGI, so it's kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, it's whew,
Well, thank you for taking time to join me. It's so cool that we're able to make
absolutely.
another video. If you guys haven't seen it, we did a video before a few months. Which I think it was last month ago, a
Yeah,
month
I
ago.
think so.
So yeah, yeah, we did our top 5 worst films of the year so far. So maybe like who knows, toward the end of the year we'll do like the whole year overall, and then we can kind of compare our lists and see how they've changed over the last 6 months.
Definitely.
So I really appreciate you took the time for little old me
Absolutely.
to join me on my small little channel. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite. This is fun. It's a great discussion.
You're welcome. Where can people find you on social media?
Probably the best place is on YouTube, Movies and Munchies. And yeah, I mean, you can follow me on Twitter. I have like 30 followers. I suck at Twitter, and my Instagram has basically fallen off. So yeah, really, YouTube is the place if you wanna see what I do, review movies that way. Yeah, you can check me out there.
That's awesome. As for me, you can find Mr. Flickster on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. My Facebook is kind of iffy right now because I was hacked, eh? So I've been
Oh,
telling everyone I know, watch out for my Facebook. Like I didn't even put a link, but I'll put links for the other things below. And my reviews are on Medium now too. And of course, I'm on horrorbuzz.com for everything horror. And I make
nice.
frequent appearances on Horrorbuzz Live, their YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen that, I have a playlist on my channel, so you guys can check that out if you want to. I don't want to take up too much of your time. We're already going on like 45 minutes here. So is there anything else that you want to say to the audience before we go?
Oh, well, I mean, I could say thanks for couching with me, but it's your channel, so thanks for couching with us. I
With us. I love that.
don't know.
That's awesome.
Uh, oh no! Thanks really for letting me come on. I appreciate it. This is fun. I had a lot of fun. I love talking movies, so this is great. You know, and when we have different perspectives, I think that makes it even better of the conversation. So that we, you know, if we agreed on everything, it would just be a very boring world. So
It would. And I love collaborating with different YouTubers too. It's pretty cool that I've been reaching out to all these people, and only a handful of people have reached out to me, but still people are reaching out. And you were one of the
nice,
first ones to do it. So I want to thank you for that.
absolutely
That's pretty awesome of you to do that.
cool. Well, I'm glad. This is fun.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you everybody for joining us. We had like 5 people. That's pretty cool. We have people active in the chat. That's pretty cool too. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I have another live stream tonight with Popping the Popcorn at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you guys check that out later on tonight. And until then, have a great day.
See ya.